Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, the radical left's least favorite channel on YouTube. Why does the radical left hate us so much? Well, probably because I opened some of my videos like this. It seems like Mr. Mega MAGA himself, the 45th and soon-to-be 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, gets another massive win against the communist regime so hell-bent on destroying him. Well, it seems like Kevin O'Leary might have been onto something. Of course, we're talking about Letitia James here. Kevin O'Leary simply said that the case itself made no sense. New York City was attempting to criminalize and classify as fraud basic business practices.
If you're a developer and you see this happen in the state of New York, why would you take the risk to put up this much money and have a judge arbitrarily decide that you are in some form of breach of fraud when no damages occurred at all? And this is the same process that occurs everywhere.
And as an investor, and I know plenty of investors who are completely disturbed by this, but I mean, no one is going to put any money to work in New York in these amounts until this thing settles down.
And obviously the warning was that clearly this isn't good for business. We shouldn't be sending a message out there to businesses who plan on operating or investing in New York that if you get on our bad sides, especially politically, we'll ban you from operating any business in the city for years and slap an arbitrary $500 million fine on top of it. Obviously, that's not a good message to send if you're trying to attract investment. And well, it seems as though the court system there might have already gotten cold feet. I think New York is already starting to panic, as they've already slashed the bond payment in half from $454 million now down to $175, and they've also extended the payment deadline. Let's just say leftoids on MSNBC are furious. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so here it is. Trump's $454 million judgment bond slashed by more than half in appeals court ruling. An appeals court ruled on Monday to reduce the amount that former President Donald Trump had to pay for his bond, ordering him to pay $175 million within the next 10 days. Previously, Trump was facing a Monday deadline to pay $454 million due to civil fraud charges brought forth by New York Attorney General Letitia James. The ruling by a 5-judge panel of appellate court judges was a crucial and unexpected victory for former President Trump, potentially staving off a looming financial disaster. Had the court denied his request, and had he failed to obtain the full bond, Mr. Trump risked of losing control over his bank accounts and eventually even some of his marquee properties. Now, I know some people are celebrating this as, oh, well, they did the right thing. The appeals court saw the errors in their way. While I understand that that's some people's conclusion, that's not my conclusion at all. What I'm seeing is desperation and panic. A proper appeals court, in my view at least, would have slashed it down to frickin' zero. Donald Trump didn't do anything wrong, let alone commit fraud. He did what every single other real estate investor does, what every business person does, try to present the most peachy presentation to the bank, hoping they'll give you the biggest loan possible. It's the bank's job to do their due diligence, not Donald Trump's. Then of course, there's the fact that there were never any damages. Everyone was paid in full. In other words, not fraud. But of course, we've covered that a million different times. The point that I was trying to make here is that this case should be dismissed entirely. But instead, they just reduced it down to $175. Well, Mr. Trump, you won't have to pay $500 million, but you do still have to pay $200 million. While of course it's better, it's still total bogus. And here's why they're doing it. Because they're realizing the political ramifications. The entire point of this case was to interfere in the election, to damage Donald Trump. Yet all they're doing is increasing his polling numbers by making him look like a martyr. Obviously, their plan is a little bit shaky, not exactly coming to fruition in the way that they might have initially expected or hoped for, and so now we're seeing a lot of second guessing. You know, investors are probably panicking. They don't want to do business in New York, just like Kevin O'Leary said. Well, that probably put pressure on them to reduce the bond. Then, of course, there's the whole seizing of property element. Letitia James was threatening to seize Donald Trump's bank accounts and start essentially stealing his properties. Then came another warning, this time from Frank Luntz.
I want you to remember this moment, and don't forget it. If the New York Attorney General starts to take his homes away, starts to seize his assets, it's all going to be on camera. Pundits are going to sit there and scream about this. This man cannot be elected. You're going to create the greatest victimhood of 2024, and you're going to elect Donald Trump.
And so I think the New York court system realized, we need to come back down to reality here, because if we start seizing his properties, well, of course, we'd love to do that because we're unhinged, corrupt, power-hungry communists. It seems at this point, if we go that far, we'll probably get the man elected. Kind of counter to their endgame goal, I'd say. And so I think they're backing off. They're panicking. Let's reduce it to 175, which is more realistic. Trump says he has the cash.
Thank you very much. What's your
And so now all of a sudden, the whole seizing of assets, seizing of bank accounts is very unlikely to happen. I think they're saving their own behind. That's really what I think is happening. But here's the thing. Are they really saving themselves from total electoral calamity? I don't think so. Because now, once again, they've managed to shoot themselves in the foot. They look horrible. Trump gets to do what Trump does, which is accurately describe what's happening to him.
It's a shame what's happening to our country. This is election interference.
This is a witch hunt. It's a hoax. Thank you.
Well, it could also make me more popular because the people know it's a scam. It's a Biden trial. This is a Biden. There is no trial. There's a Biden trial. So all of these things, so what they do is they do election interference, which is court cases, and let's try and tie him up and let's take as much of his money as possible.
It's a Biden trial. It's a witch hunt. It's obvious that that's the case. I think most people tend to sympathize with Donald Trump in these cases. At least that's been the previous trend. But while that's going on, what's the leftist media doing? They're freaking out.
And honestly, this is so infuriating. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know if I care what the process is that these judges are arriving at. Whatever it is, it's flawed. I can tell you that much. I mean, David put it well. This is a different process for this person. We have decided that he gets his own private court of justice. He has a private plane. He has private clubs that he lives in. Apparently, he basically fashioned himself his own private militia to try to take over the Capitol. Now he's getting his own private system of justice. This is an absolute travesty. It would not happen for anybody else. Anybody else, it would be like, sorry, buddy, you lost, pay up. For him, he gets his own set of rules.
It's just so infuriating. There's a clear double standard. The implication is that Donald Trump is getting special treatment. Donald Trump, the most rambunctious, controversial Republican candidate in probably American history, is getting special treatment in deep blue Democrat New York, where the Attorney General said this.
We've got to get ready to mobilize, and we've got to get ready to agitate and irritate until victory is won, but more importantly, until Trump is defeated.
By the way, says the legal analyst on MSNBC who has a book behind him that reads, Taking Down Trump. Definitely neutral, but just think about how ridiculous that sounds. Trump is getting treated specially. He's getting special treatment after they slapped a $500 million fine on him for literally no reason, just an arbitrary number. Oh, well, we believe he enriched himself to this degree, and we don't like that because we're dirty little communists. And so we're going to slap that fine on him. That was apparently fair. Now that it's being reduced, he's all of a sudden being treated fairly. He's getting special treatment that regular people wouldn't receive. He's still being hit with a $200 million, again, arbitrary fine. Not to mention, let's go back to the initial Kevin O'Leary quote.
Very few sectors generate as much cash as this does. And so if you're a developer, you're an entrepreneur, you go to a bank, and you say, look, I want to borrow $200 million to build a building. And they say, well, what assets do you have we can secure this loan against? And you point to a building you built before. And you haggle and you argue about the value of that building. This goes on in every city on earth. That's how real estate developers who are entrepreneurs and take risk borrow money. Why would you take the risk to put up this much money and have a judge arbitrarily decide that you are in some form of breach of fraud when no damages occurred at all? And this is the same process that occurs everywhere.
So you mean to tell me that all investors engage in the same business practices, but Donald Trump's the only one who ever got charged with a very obscure law and legal theory, but Donald Trump's the one receiving special treatment? Give me a frickin' break. Please, I need a break from this absolute idiocy. Every single leftist NPC on Twitter is pushing the same frickin' talking point. It's an injustice. It's infuriating. He's getting special treatment. The laws don't apply to him. Glenn Kirshner writes, the verdict is in. The rules, the laws, and the Constitution do not apply to Donald Trump the way they apply to you and me. All of a sudden, now it's a two-tier justice system. After years of defending the justice system that endlessly persecuted Donald Trump, now all of a sudden, it's a corrupt two-tiered system. They're all pushing the same talking point, but none of them actually have any facts. Nobody's going to actually give you a coherent argument as to why this decision was legitimate, just as they can't give you a coherent explanation as to why the charges were justified in the first place. These people are evil partisans, that's it. Game over, and they got BTFO'd once again. Trump's about to surge in the polls. Democrats got freaking egg on their face. I guess it's just another day in the United States of America. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.